I've been to a lot of dangerous places, like favelas in Brazil or civil war in Guinea. But you can also find really scary places in Russia. There are deadly neighborhoods in many cities in Russia. So if you want to go on an extreme trip, you can choose from the list of the Russia's most dangerous cities. What's harder is getting out there alive. So guys, here's a compilation of 10 most criminal and dangerous cities in Russia. Let's go. Not there, of course. That would be a bold suggestion. The city to open our list is, you'll never believe it. You won't believe it. But it's Moscow. Predictably, there is a lot of crime in the biggest city of the country. From January to October 2022, Moscow was one of 3 cities in Russia with the highest number of violent crimes. Last year, there were almost 183,000 crimes reported. 182 of them were homicides and homicide attempts. It means in Russia's capital, somebody is nearly getting killed 3-4 times a week, so every other day. For every 1,000 inhabitants, there are about 10 crimes. Don't you think that's enough to call a city dangerous and included in our list? You should also understand that there are a lot of random people in Moscow. I mean, those who end up here against their will. People who lost their jobs, who have to make a living somehow, and that pushes them to commit crimes. There are many seedy places in Moscow, railway stations and markets full of out-of-towners who can easily get lost after doing something illegal. All in all, Moscow is a tricky city, my friends. You don't want to go there. Write it down. Do not go to Moscow. Excuse my French, but Moscow is a f***ed up city. The next in our list is the northern capital of Russia, or how they call it, the cultural capital, or the capital of crime. People also say that St. Petersburg is a city of bandits. For a population of 5.5 million in St. Petersburg, there are 63,000 crimes. Almost 20,000 of them are serious and grave crimes. In 2022, St. Petersburg, just like Moscow, was among Russian cities with the highest number of violent crimes. There were 135 murder attempts in St. Petersburg in 2022. It is only 25% less than in capital. Take into account, though, that there are twice as many people living in Moscow. In addition, St. Petersburg got a reputation of dismemberment city after a number of high-profile cases. The first one took place in the end of 2019. Alexei Kolov, Russian historian and professor at St. Petersburg State University, had an affair with his student. He killed and dismembered her over a fight, and then tried to throw the remains into the river. In 2020, he was sentenced to 12.5 years in prison in a penal colony. The second case occurred in the summer of 2020. St. Petersburg rapper Andy Cartwright was killed and dismembered by his own wife, Marina Kohol. So be careful, guys. In St. Petersburg, there are not only museums but also dangerous neighborhoods. The next pin on our evil map is Yekaterinburg, the administrative center of Sverdlovsk region, one of the leading regions of Russia by number of homicides every year. By this indicator, the Ural region is already beating Moscow. In 2022, 212 murders and murder attempts were recorded here, against 182 in Moscow, while the population of Sverdlovsk region is 3 times less. That makes 5 homicides or attempts per 100,000 inhabitants. In Yekaterinburg alone, in 2022, there were more than 12,000 crimes committed per million people. So the spirit of the dashing 90s is still there in the capital of the Ural region. Its criminal past makes itself felt. If you want to know more about Yekaterinburg, tell me in the comments and I'll make a video about it. Let's move to the south of Russia, the Don River. Here we've got Rostov-on-Don, ranked 7th in our list. Father Rostov, as they call it. That's where the Don Cossacks once lived, in their own military and agricultural community, and defend the borders of Russia. The city of the Cossacks was famous for its criminal traditions even before 1917 revolution, and the things haven't changed much. The locals themselves rate the security level of the city as lower than 50%. The feelings of the locals are baked by numbers. In 2022, there were almost 58,000 crimes registered in the Rostov region. 112 of them are murders and attempted murders. At the same time, half of Rostov's crimes are never solved. After Rostov comes Shakhty, a city in the Rostov region. The situation here is even worse than in the capital of the region. According to the survey held in 80 Russian cities, Shakhty was named one of the most dangerous cities in Russia for 4 years in a row. Almost always heading the list. No wonder. The city was initially built around the coal industry that went into decay, leaving people unemployed and poor. In addition, Shakhty is known for having one of the lowest salaries in Russia. It is recommended not to stay outside after sunset, and taxi won't take you to certain districts of the city. If you'd like to see a video about Shakhty, tell me in the comments. We are back to the Urals now. The fifth in our list is Chelyabinsk. Chelyabinsk is one of the largest industrial centers in Russia. It is practically a plant city. I have visited this city with its enthusiastic inhabitants and made a video with 10 tips to improve the city. But besides beautification of the city, the administration should also tackle the crime issue. Last year, the Chelyabinsk region was one of the 10 regions with the highest number of crimes in Russia. With a population of 3.4 million, last year there were 63,000 crimes reported here. 162 of them are murders and attempted murders. So in the tank city, how they call Chelyabinsk here, you should always be cautious. Blagoveshchensk is the administrative center of the Amur region bordering China. I was in Blagoveshchensk a couple of years ago. Back then, it seemed like a city not worth visiting. Boring, dull, not entertaining. But the locals found a way to entertain themselves. Crime. That brought Blagoveshchensk to the 4th place in our ranking. It's not a big city. Its population is only 220,000 people, but it makes more than a third of the entire Amur region. There are less than 1 million people living in the region, but in 2022 there were more than 16,000 crimes committed here. According to the Russian news agency RRA, it's the most dangerous region in Russia. At the same time, for every 100,000 people there are 2,000 crimes, of which 13 are violent crimes. This number is 35% higher than the Russian average. So if you find yourself in Blagoveshchensk, you better leave it ASAP, or you risk never leaving it at all. The third in the list is Magadan. The Magadan region is located in Russia's far east. It is also the largest region in the country. But there are only 140,000 people living here. And this small number of people in just 2022 committed 2,400 crimes, 207 of which were grave crimes, and 11 are terrorist offenses. 2/3 of the population of the region live in the region's capital and commit their crimes here. So going to Magadan is always a risk. By the way, I did risk going to Magadan and I made a video about it. Watch it right now if you haven't done it yet. When I was making a video about the AUE movement, AUE is a criminal subculture. Popular with teenagers, it is based on the prison rules. They say that AUE is especially common in Zabaikal and Buryatia region of Russia, and I'm not surprised. Buryatia is one of the most criminal regions of Russia. Last year, 1 million people of this region committed 22,000 crimes. The homicide rate is growing again, although for the past couple of years it was declining. By the end of 2022, there were 185 murders. It is 165 more than in 2021. But there are places scarier than Ulan-Ude. So we got to the top of the ranking of the most dangerous and criminal cities in Russia. What city is most dangerous? The scariest one. And the winner is Kyzyl. It is the capital of Tuva Republic in the south in Siberia. It's pretty hard to get there. I don't think you've ever been there. I have, and I felt the criminal vibes of the city myself. Watch my video if you want to make sure Tuva is a dangerous place. In fact, Tuva is one of the youngest regions of Russia. It was part of the Russian Socialist Federative Republic in 1944. Last year, Kyzyl was named the least livable city in Russia, and Tuva is one of the 6 most dangerous regions of the country. The Tuvans are famous online for their drinking problems and crimes committed under the influence of alcohol. Previously, alcohol was sold here only on weekdays until 3 p.m. During the coronavirus lockdown, the sale of alcohol was prohibited. Maybe that's why the number of murders that was so high in the last 3 years declined. By murder rate, this region is the first in Russia. Just listen to this. For every 100,000 inhabitants, there are 40 murders here. More than in Mexico or Brazil, that are considered the most dangerous countries in the world. They say that in 90s in Tuva there were violent clashes between the local ethnic group and the Russians. And there are even rumors online about the genocide of the Russian-speaking population. I couldn't find any evidence, but the Russian-speaking share of the population has halved since 1989. However, now the entire republic and its capital, Kyzyl, look really dangerous for a person of any ethnicity. So the capital of the most deadly region tops my ranking of the most dangerous cities in Russia. So that was it, guys. Would you risk going to any of these cities, and if so, which one would you go to? Share it in the comments below. And if you want to know how people live in Russian cities, dangerous and not so much, subscribe to my channel. More exciting content is to come. Click the bell button not to miss new videos and share them on WhatsApp and Reddit. See ya!